Our next topic is called back rank combinations. Back rank combinations can be used when one side has a weak back rank and the other side can use the back rank mate threat with a tactic to win material. What is a back rank mate? Well, a back rank mate happens when the king can't get out of the back rank. It can't go up. Now this is the back rank of the board, and notice how the king, the black king here, is stuck on g8. It can't go up to any of these squares, and it can only move left or right, so it's really stuck there. Now all white needs to do is to play his own rook to the back rank, and this would be checkmate. The king can't come up, can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, and the rook controls all the squares on the back rank. This is a back rank mate. Now, we can use this idea to help us with other tactics and win material. Let's look at some examples. Now, it's not so obvious how white can give checkmate right now. Obviously, it seems like rook to d8 doesn't work because the rook simply takes us, and it looks like the queen takes doesn't really work because the knight can take. But the problem is we see the position and we see that the knight's overworked. The knight's guarding the d8 square, the b8 square, and the d8 square. The problem is now that if we take the rook, the knight is forced to take us back, otherwise it would be checkmate. And now neither the rook or the knight is guarding the d8 square anymore. And now we can play rook to d8, and that would be checkmate. Notice how we use a deflection here. We deflect the knight, and we remove the guard of the rook from the d8 square, allowing us to use a d8 square for our checkmate. This is a tactic combined with a back rank weakness that wins the game. We have another example over here, and once again, it's not that obvious how white will give checkmate or even use a back rank. In fact, right now, none of white's pieces can even go to black's back rank. The pawn is blocking the rook, and the queen simply just doesn't really have any squares to go, doesn't have any way to get there. There's no way here. So what do? We notice that black does have a back rank problem. His king can't come out to a7, can't come up to c7, and b7 obviously is occupied by his pawn. Now, if the pawn wasn't here, then maybe we could play something like rook to e8. The idea is now that we play queen takes e5, and now if the pawn takes, then we play rook to f8, and no matter how he blocks, doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how he blocks, we end up with checkmate, like this. After queen takes e5, not only do we win a rook, if he doesn't take us, for example, if he plays king to c8, then we can play queen to c7 mate. And if he plays king to a8, then we can go rook a1 check. After rook a2 blocks, then we also have checkmate on a2 as well. The idea is that we use the fact that this pawn is pinned to the back rank to win a rook, and not only win a rook, we can force checkmate after that. Now in this position, it seems like black's back rank is not that weak at all. This one will be number 2 on your worksheet. Black's position is not weak at all. It seems like the queen is guarding all these back rank squares, and if we try something like queen takes g8, king takes g8, well, black's back rank isn't so weak anymore. He can play king to f7, his king looks like it's in good shape. The problem is we can combine black's current back rank weakness, the king can come to g7, we combine that with another tactic. What's this other tactic? Well, let me first give you some time to think about it, and if you want more time, you can pause the video. Okay, here is the answer. We play the move rook to e8. The problem is that we have two threats here. We have one threat of attacking the queen, pinning the queen actually, and our second threat is to play the move queen to g7 checkmate. Notice how the queen here is actually overworked. It's protecting not only the g7 square from white's playing queen to g7, it's also protecting the e8 square from back rank mate. Now if we play rook to e8, the queen is forced to choose which one of those duties it will perform, and it will probably take the rook, and then we will play queen to g7 checkmate. The queen can't move because it's pinned otherwise, so if black plays something else, any other move pretty much, we can still play queen to g7 since the queen is pinned. We use a pin along with the back rank problem right now to help win a queen and actually give checkmate. We now move to number 6 on the worksheet. In this position, once again, black's back rank seems to not be that weak, though his king does have no outlet square, but the king is still looks like it's well guarded by the rook, and even d8's guarded. The rook can't go to d8 right now. It's guarded 2 ways. Now let's take all the arrows away, and let's try to figure out how we can use this back rank to our advantage. Well, the queen's being attacked right now, and the correct solution is to play queen takes e5. This looks like at first sight, it loses a queen. But we're actually distracting the queen away from this pawn and away from the back rank. When the queen comes to e5, now once again, we can't play rook to d8 immediately because after rook to d8, he can play just simply takes on h6, and now there's no back rank problem. You can take my rook, but I'll just play king to g7, and I have a queen for a rook. This is winning for black. But after queen takes e5, we have another idea. The rook is now stuck to the back rank. If the rook's not there, then rook to d8 will be checkmate. Since the rook is stuck to the back rank, it's no longer doing its job of defending the f7 pawn because it's forced to stay on the back rank. Now we have the opportunity to take on knight takes f7. This is a check, and that's actually forking the queen. And if the rook takes, like I said, we have checkmate after rook to d8. And if he just moves his king away, then we recover the queen, and we actually end up winning a bishop and a pawn in this tactic. Remember, this is back rank combination, so we use a tactic with the back rank weakness. We're using the tactic first to deflect the queen to this e5 square, and then we use the fact that the rook is stuck on the back rank to use another fork here. Oops, knight to h8. Use another fork here to win the queen back. If you're interested in knowing how to prevent back rank problems, you can always play, for example, if white was trying to prevent his own back rank problem, you can play something like h3, f3, or if you're confident that your king will be safe, you can even play king to f1 sometime. Obviously not in this position right now, his bishop will take your queen, but those are ways that you can try to prevent back rank problems by giving your king a safe square to go to.